Good evening. Are you ready for a discussion? Did you finish this? What about the others? Shantanu says yes. You need some time, I can give you. Aditya, Ishika, Saad, Saili, Abhishek. Okay. All right, then let's begin. So, first question, you must pair the words. One is complete and total. Second one is fleeting and momentary. So, we need to find one out of these two pairs. Because premature and trivial, these do not form a pair. Okay. So only by ignoring decades of mismanagement and inefficiency could investors conclude that a fresh infusion of cash would provide anything other than a dash solution to the company's financial. See, if a company is doing very in the past, if it did any mismanagement and inefficiency, so investors normally expect negative things. Even if you are doing positive things, if they consider mismanagement, then they will expect a negative solution. Okay. So if they ignore it, then only they can expect a positive. Okay. So because he says anything other than, so anything other than a negative solution. So that means positive. So double negative is positive, right? So if you ignore the decades of mismanagement, then only the investors will see this fresh infusion of cash leading to some positive solution. So I need positive here. But actually here already anything other than a positive means it becomes negative. So we need to say anything other than a negative solution. That means positive. So anything other than is changing the meaning of that. So we put another negative word there out of these two pairs. Complete and total is a positive pair. Fleeting and momentary means temporary. So which is a negative pair. So this is positive, this is negative. Only if I put negative, then it suits the logic of the sentence. Okay. Therefore, fleeting and momentary suit the blank there. So that word anything other than is negative in nature. So if you put a positive word after that, it becomes totally negative. If you put another negative, then it becomes positive. So from the logic of the sentence, we need to decide what word you require there. And then accordingly, you choose your answer. Okay. Then question number 2. Some scientists argue that carbon compounds play such a central role, such a central role in life on Earth because of the possibility of dash resulting from a carbon atom's ability to form an unending series of different molecules. So what becomes possible if it is having the ability of unending series of different molecules? So you need to find out two pairs in this one. Diversity and variety is one pair. Okay. Just give me a minute. Let into a call. Okay. So why is the carbon playing central role is given with because of the possibility of what? So what possibility arises if carbon atom has the ability to form an unending series of different molecules? So is it diversity and variety, which is one pair, okay, and another one is uh, deviation, stability. They are opposite: stability, invigoration, reproduction, invigoration. Okay. So what is possible because of the unending? What happens? Series of different molecules. So because it can form different molecules, what happens? Is it diversity or reproduction? Is it if you catch the unending series, then you might end up with the reproduction. Okay, but invigoration is again strengthening something. It's not exactly reproduction. Yeah. So stability, invigoration, but invigoration is not unending series. So reproduction is the only word left. Okay. So stability and invigoration. Yes. Yes, right. Shantanu, correct. Invigoration and stability also do not form a pair, if you exactly look at it. Something becomes stable. Okay. So diversity and variety, because it's talking about different molecules. Yes. Yeah. It looks like that. So invigoration is little closer to stability. Okay, because stable, if something becomes stable, vigor is also strengthen something. Stability leads to strengthening. Okay. Yes. Next one. Question number 3. Given means that is whenever you find given or given that in a sentence, it is about cause and effect. Okay. So given the flood of information presented by the mass media, that means there's a lot of information. The only way for someone to keep abreast of the news. So what is keeping abreast of the news? That means remaining up to date. Okay. To keep abreast of the news, when you have lots of information, okay, that is presented to you by the mass media. So you used to rely on what accounts. So synoptic, abridged, this is one pair. Lurid, sensational is another pair. Copious means abundant. Understated means something which is less than necessary. Okay. So if it is less than necessary, then you are not abreast. Copious is already known, that is flood of information. Okay. Now, should you rely on sensational accounts or should you rely on synoptic accounts if you want to keep abreast of the news? If you follow only sensational news, then you won't be able to follow all news. So it should be you read the capsules of the news. Okay, so which is synoptic news. Okay, abridged news. So A and B are the correct ones. Very good, Aditya. Always circumspect. Circumspect means cautious. She was reluctant to make judgments. But contrast. Once arriving at a conclusion, she was dash in its defense. So when you are, so what do you do when you make a decision in its support? How will you be? So you'll be very strong in its defense, right? So I need something very positive here. So what are the words? That means you never change your decision, right? So you will be very resolute on that. Resolute means very strong. That means you won't change it. Deferential means respectful. So there are only two pairs here. C and D is one pair. Lax and negligent means careless. So this is a negative one. So we need a positive word. Differential means respectful, but there is no other pair for it. We have two pairs here, intransigent, resolute. Intransigent means you never change your decision. Very strong on that. Resolute also means very decisive and strong. So resolute, intransigent are the correct pair here. Okay. Then let's look at the passage. So what is this passage about? When marine organisms called phytoplankton photosynthesize, they absorb carbon dioxide dissolved in seawater, potentially causing a reduction in the concentration of atmospheric carbon dioxide, a gas that contributes to global warming. However, phytoplankton flourish only in surface waters where iron levels are sufficiently high. Martin therefore hypothesized, that means keeping in view all those things, Martin therefore hypothesized. So that therefore, thus, consequently, those kinds of words indicate that anything that comes before them is used as the evidence to reach that conclusion. So Martin therefore hypothesized that adding iron to iron poor regions of the ocean could help alleviate global warming. While experiments subsequently confirmed that such a procedure increases phytoplankton growth, field tests have shown that such growth does not significantly lower atmospheric carbon dioxide. So the tests are proving this hypothesis wrong. When phytoplankton utilize carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, the carbon becomes a building block for organic matter, but the carbon leaks back into the atmosphere when predators consume the phytoplankton and respire carbon dioxide. So it is talking about the organisms that feed on the phytoplankton, which breathe this carbon dioxide out. Okay, so that's where this is the explanation for the failure of this hypothesis. Okay, now let us go to the question. It can be inferred from the passage that Martin's hypothesis includes which of the following elements. So ABC, you must find out all multi answer type, multi answer. So it can be one or two or three options. Okay, let's see a correct understanding of how phytoplankton photosynthesis utilizes carbon dioxide. So when you observed the passage, he considered everything that came before, right? So that's what I said. He therefore hypothesized means he knows the above things, whatever is mentioned above. So what is mentioned above? When phytoplankton photosynthesize, they absorb carbon dioxide. This process he knows. Okay. So a correct understanding of how phytoplankton photosynthesis utilizes carbon dioxide. He knows that. So A is correct. B, a correct prediction about how the addition of iron to iron poor waters would affect phytoplankton growth. So that you will see after the second hypothesis. Experiment subsequently confirmed such a procedure increases phytoplankton growth. So that means until growth part, his hypothesis is correct. So B also is correct. C says an incorrect prediction about how phytoplankton growth would affect the concentration of atmospheric carbon dioxide. So this is also correct because field tests have not shown this about the concentration of lowering concentration of atmospheric carbon dioxide. So all the three are the correct answers. A, B, C, all three. So this is a very challenging question actually. So you have to okay, consider this very carefully. Okay, each and every option should be independently checked in the passage for confirmation. Okay, don't be in a hurry and just don't bank in on your memory. Okay, so try to see each and every answer in the passage if it is correct or not very quickly. Then sixth one, it can be inferred that the author of the passage mentions predators primarily in order to. Okay, so you must always such consider the overall logic, overall idea in the passage. First, he mentioned a hypothesis. Then field test did not confirm it. Okay, certain portions of it are disconfirmed. Okay. So predators is mentioned in the last part when he mentioned the failure of it. Okay. So he's explaining why it is incorrect. So it is coming in the explanation part. Actually, A can be correct. So it's not B. It's not C. It's not about organic matter converting. It is about the carbon dioxide again coming back into the cycle. So difference in the density of phytoplankton is not correct. Now E somewhat confuses us, but it is not a factor, it's not a surprising finding. Okay. So when it says not anticipated, you would have looked for some words like surprisingly, very unusually they have seen this kind of, then probably you can expect such answers. Okay. So you should have that kind of wording also there. So it was not something, unanticipated by the scientists. Okay. So anywhere in the passage, you don't find anything supporting it. So E also can be ruled out. So the answers are framed in such a way so as to confuse us. So you need to be, finding some support for the answers. Okay. Now let's look at seventh question. This is strengthened question. So you need to read the argument. Sparva, unlike trendlands other provinces, requires automobile insurers to pay for any medical treatment sought by someone who has been involved in an accident. In Sparva, the automobile insurers, okay, that means the insurance companies, they pay for any medical treatment. Okay, if you involved in an accident, Sparva's companies pay for any treatment. Now, in the other provinces, insurers pay for non-emergency treatment only if they pre-approve the treatment. That means for small things, small injuries, they don't pay. I mean, they will pay, but they pay it only if it is pre-approved. Otherwise, they don't pay. Okay. So clearly, Sparva's less restrictive policy. So he's coming up with a cause and effect conclusion. Sparva's less restrictive policy must be the explanation for the fact that altogether insurers there pay for far more treatments after accidents than insurers in other provinces, even though Sparva does not have the largest population. So that means even if it has less population, Sparva is paying for many treatments. The number of treatments for which they pay, remember, it's not paying large amount of money, paying for more number of treatments in Sparva than in other provinces. Okay. So overall, they are paying for more number of treatments. That is what the conclusion is. Why? Because of having less restrictive policy. Now we need to say that yes, less restrictive policy, because of that they are paying for more number of treatments. Okay. So A is saying car insurance costs more in Sparva. So this is an attractive answer, but actually if you miss the conclusion about the number of treatments is different from paying for more amount of money you pay. So if it is amount, then A will be strengthening it, but we are talking about number of treatments. Okay. Similarly, B is talking about the cost of medical care. C talks about different insurance companies have different standards for determining. That we already know, but it doesn't strengthen the conclusion. Fewer insurance companies operate in Sparva than in any other province. Now, if you have to pay for more number of treatments, then obviously that will be the result. But we have to strengthen the conclusion that it is because of less restrictive policy. So E strengthens it by saying there are fewer traffic accidents annually in Sparva than in any of the provinces of comparable or greater population. Okay. Even with lesser traffic or accidents, okay, if you're paying so comparatively, if other provinces are having more more number of accidents, okay, and there are less accidents in Sparva, but comparatively you are paying for all the treatments, right? For example, in Sparva, there are 20 accidents. Okay. In other provinces, you have 60 accidents. That means actually who has to pay for more treatments? Other provinces. Okay. But actually out of 60, let us say emergency treatments are only 5. So in other provinces, they need pre-approval. So they don't pay for 55, only they pay for 5. But here, all 20 must be paid. Okay. Now you can say that why are they paying for 20? You can say that it is because of less restrictive policy here. So you can claim that it is because of less restrictive. Suppose you say 60 are happening here and 20 are happening in other provinces. So out of these 20, let's say they are paying 5. They are paying all 60 here, let's say. Then what do you say? Because of having more number of accidents here, they are paying for more. Okay. So you will claim that it is because of not the, or you can say 120 happened out of which they paid for 75. Okay. So why do you say 60? Then you blame the number of accidents more happening here for paying more number of treatments. In order to tell that it is because of less restrictive policy, they need to have less number of accidents also. Then only you can directly claim that it is because of the policy and not because of the more number of accidents happening in that area. Okay. Compared to any other city with greater population. Okay. So there are a couple of things around which I would like to, warn you. Okay. This this question is a speed breaker because that is the result, Shantanu. Fewer insurance companies operate in Swarwa than in any other province. It is because of, because of their, that is the result. See, if you are asked to move to a state where you have to pay for all the treatments, will you go there? So as a company, you don't like to prefer to go to an area where you might have to pay all the treatments. Okay. So that is the result, but we have to strengthen that restrictive policy is the reason for paying more number of treatments. Okay, strategically, this question is a speed breaker on GRE. Okay, speed breaker. That means if you are very good at reading comprehension and sentence correction, strategically this is positioned in such a way that suddenly it consumes a lot of time. So if you cannot solve in 1 minute, then it is better to pick something and move on, because it will cost you the other questions also, because time is very crucial. So strategically, I would tell you 3 blank questions, one of the 3 blank questions or 2 of the 3 blank questions and one critical reasoning question. These 2 are speed breakers. Okay, so if you want to do the other questions well, so it is better to take a call very quickly on these questions, 3 blank questions and a critical reasoning question. Okay, am I clear? Don't waste your time on these questions. In 1 minute, you only give 1 minute. In 1 minute, if you cannot crack, do not take the other questions. Okay. So strategically keep that in mind. And then I'm not saying you should not answer it. It's up to you, but it is better not answer them. Yeah, randomly you can mark and move on. Yes. Or leave. No. Don't leave unanswered anything, because that will again cost you penalty. there will be penalty for not answering the questions. You must answer something and move on. Okay. Next. So this is again a passage. Yeah, and if the time permits, we can come back. Yeah, then you keep them for review. So there is a review button on the top of the screen. So you can click the review button for this particular question and move on. Okay. But normally you don't find time, that much time that you can come back to the questions and okay. So you have to instantly take a decision. Okay. Now let's see. Elements of the Philosophy of Newton, published by Voltaire in 1738, was an early attempt to popularize the scientific ideas of Isaac Newton. Okay, a book was written, published by Voltaire. So this is done in an attempt to popularize the scientific ideas. In the book's frontispiece, Voltaire is seen writing at his desk, and over him a shaft of light from heaven, the light of truth, passes through Newton to Voltaire's collaborator, Madame Chatelet. She reflects the light onto the inspired Voltaire. Voltaire's book commanded a wide audience, according to Fringold, because, so wherever because comes, pay special attention, because it's giving a reason. Because, so these are important indicators. Why did it command a wide audience? Because he was neither a mathematician nor a physicist, but a literary giant, aloof from the academic disputes over Newtonian ideas. In other words, Voltaire's amateurism in science was a source of his contemporary appeal, demonstrating for the first time the accessibility of Newton's ideas to non-specialists. So there are a couple of things here. Voltaire is an amateur in science, which is attracting a wider audience, and he's accessible to non-specialists also. That means whatever he writes can be understood by even ordinary people. Okay. So he's a literary giant. That means he's a person of literature, and he's a great person. Okay. So he's praising. So which is why he commanded a wide audience. Okay. So that is a point here. Now, wherever some difficulty lies in understanding, you expect a question from there. Okay. Because that is the basic idea, but don't struggle to understand everything. So you come back to the question, and based on the question, you try to follow the information. Okay. Now here the question is asking, which of the following statements about Voltaire's Elements of the Philosophy of Newton can be inferred from the passage? Voltaire's literary stature helped secure a large audience for his attempt to popularize Newton's ideas. This is correct, because as a giant of literature, he is able to secure a large audience. Okay. Voltaire's status as non-scientist was an advantage in this effort to bring Newtonian science to the attention of general. This is also correct. The frontispiece of the book implies that Voltaire's understanding of Newtonian's ideas was not achieved without assistance. So he mentioned here that the light is passing through Newton, through some madam, and then it passed. It came on to the inspired Voltaire. That means this is on the cover of that book, so which is clearly indicating that there is some middle person through which this light passed. So which is clearly suggesting C also. So A, B, C, all three are correct in this case. And again, everything relates to the information presented there, but it is not direct, but it is related to that. Okay. Now select the sentence that describes an allegory. Allegory means something like a story for Voltaire's acquisition of knowledge concerning Newton's ideas. Just now we read that, how the light passed and all. So this sentence you must click. This is clicking on the sentence, selecting the sentence question. This is a very easy question. In fact, you have to consider the modifiers at the beginning of sentences to understand which sentence is this. Especially in the short passages, it's not very difficult to find the sentence. There will hardly be 5-6 sentences. Out of them, one will be your answer. All you have to do is find out what the sentence is asking for. So if you find such questions, answer them first. Okay. Then the next one is ironically. This is sentence correct completion again. Ironically means contrast. The writer so wary of dash. So wary means cautious. Was dash with ink and paper. So you have to show the contradiction here. So how is he with ink and paper? That is given here. Then you can take the contradiction before that. Okay. So how is he with ink and paper? His novel running to 2,500 chagrin bound folio pages, a fortune in stationery at that time. So fortune means he's spending a lot of money. So with ink and paper, if you come back to the second option, you have found the word fortune in stationery means it is very costly. Therefore, he's talking about the cost involved in it. So you can come back and see one answer which matches with the cost immediately. Second blank is profligate. Okay. And then immediately, in the first part, there should be a contradiction. So that fellow is, how is that fellow? He should be a person who is cautious about what? Who is careful about spending. Again, wary is already given. So this is the kind of questions you get on GRE. Okay. So double negatives, double positives already, he's saying he is very careful about what? He's careful about expenses. So that should be your message, opposite message you are giving, meaning. So this question is answered based on this information. That this fellow is very expensive with ink and paper because he's spending a lot of money on this. Then what is he careful about? He's careful about spending money. So what do you call spending money as? Again, I need a word which means spending more money. So this is extravagance. So because of this word vary, so he is careful about spending money, but he is spending money. That is the irony here. So ironical means you have to show that contradiction here. So only if I take, so consider these kinds of elements, just before the blank. If you find less, no, never, barely. Acquisitive is, possessive nature, materialistic. Acquisitive doesn't mean spending a lot of money. Profligacy is wasting money. Acquisitive is materialistic. Okay. Illiberal means conservative. Again, liberal means liberal comes close to profligacy. Wasting money. So extravagance and profligacy are the synonyms, in fact. Those two are about spending money. Wasting money, in fact. Let's see this 3 blank question. So with one reading, you should get the answers. Otherwise, it will, take some time for you. What readers most commonly remember? And sometimes you don't get the first blank. So in order to answer the first blank, you might have to read everything until the end. Then only you will get an idea. Okay. So this question is all about that. So you have to randomly fill the blank with something and then make sense. And later on, you can modify the answers. Okay. So that should be your approach here. So you put something into the blank so that you can make some meaning first, and then slowly you will realize that the meaning is correct or not. Okay. So what readers most commonly remember about John Stuart Mill's classic exploration of the liberty of thought and discussion concerns the danger of dash. So my concern is about answering that blank, right? What danger is he concerned with, or the readers concerned with? They are concerned with the danger of dash. And immediately there is a colon. After the colon, he mentions in the absence of challenge. So that is what the danger is. So what do you call absence of challenge? Absence of challenge means nobody will fight you. So if you don't have fighting spirit, what do you call? Is it tendentiousness? That is biased. Complacency means accepting everything meekly. So that is matching with it. Fractious means that is opposite, challenging something. Fractious, rebellious. So fractious immediately is gone. So what is the danger? He is concerned with absence of challenge. So complacency is the right word there. Then the moment you see this, immediately you get have to scan the answers. So this is the danger he is worried about. So complacency is the right fit here, because after the colon you have absence of challenge. Okay. So take such clues and then immediately fill the ones which you can easily fill. Even when they are correct, grow weak and flabby. Yet is a contradiction. Mill had another reason for encouraging the liberty of thought and discussion. What is that? The danger of partiality and incompleteness. Okay. Danger of partiality and incompleteness. Partiality. Let us see what he means by that. Since one's opinions, even under the best circumstances, tend to dash. So which one of these answers matches with partiality and incompleteness? Let us see. Between D, E, F. So which one is closely matching? So partiality means embracing only a portion of the truth. Okay. And because opinions opposed to one's own rarely turn out to be completely dash. So rarely is a negative word. Turn out to be completely dash. They are rarely dash. Because they are rarely dash, it is crucial to supplement one's opinions with alternative points of view. So this information is important for you to fill this blank. So he's saying you have to supplement one's opinions with alternative points of view. You have to give additional things, by the alternative points of view. That means when your own opinions are rarely what? Rarely correct or rarely incorrect. When will you supplement one's opinions with alternative points of view? When they are not completely incorrect. So if your opinions are incorrect and the others' opinions are correct, it is better to supplement your opinions with the others' opinions. Okay. So because this is talking about the opinions which are opposed to yours. Okay. So there will be something in them, is it not? The viewpoints opposing yours will have something in them related to the point of discussion. Obviously, they are rarely incorrect. That means they are correct. Only if they are correct, you will supplement them with your opinions. So I need the meaning correct here, because this point is saying that you have to supplement the viewpoint with the others' viewpoints. So the others' viewpoints are correct, which means they are rarely incorrect. So rarely erroneous. So this kind of double negatives bringing in positive meaning should be taken up very, importantly here. So if you say rarely opposite, antithetical. So what does that mean? The opposite points are not opposite. Rarely antithetical. That means they are similar to yours. So if they are similar to yours, why do you have to supplement them? They are already similar, right? So not antithetical means going in the same way. If they are in the same way, then you don't have to necessarily supplement them with your viewpoints. Okay. Next, question number 12. Just as means comparison. Just as author's book on eels is often a key text. So this book is a text for courses in marine biology. Similarly, their ideas on animal development and phylogeny dash teaching in this area. So the comparison is A is to B is the same as C is to D. This book on eels is a text for courses in marine biology. Similarly, their ideas on animal development are a text for teaching in this area. So what is the answer? Do they prevent? Do they defy? Negative words are not possible. Do they replicate teaching? Replicate teaching means teaching is replicate. So they copy teaching. So copy teaching means it is going in this way. They use teaching also is going in this. The ideas inform teaching means they are going in this direction. This is a text for this. Similarly, their ideas on this are a text for this. So it should proceed. Their ideas use this means it goes this way. So their ideas replicate means they go this way. So I need to go this way. So inform is the right word. So inform means teach here. Okay. Next one. So sometimes words are very simple, as you can see here: inform, use, replicate. But contextually, they get the significance. Mechanisms develop whereby every successful species. Replicate means copy. So are the ideas copying from teaching, or are the ideas contributing to teaching? So that replicate is not contribute. Replicate is copy. Replica means copy. Okay. That is in the reverse order. So ideas replicate is different from ideas are replicated. So see that passive construction also: are replicated, replicate. Mechanisms develop whereby every successful species can dash its innate capacity for population growth. With the constraints that arise through its interactions with the natural environment. So what happens with the constraints? Constraints is a negative word. So if you have problems in the environment and you have to face the problems, okay, the capacity for population growth, what happens to it? For every successful species can dash its innate capacity for population growth. Will it, with the constraints that arise through its interactions, this is the negative one. So what happens to your innate capacity? Well, I need a negative word. This is positive. This is also positive. This is positive. Replace or reconcile. Can replace its innate capacity, or reconcile means compromise. As you know, compromise is a negative word in some cases, like compromising the values. That means you forego. So compromise, reconcile, these two, contextually they get negative meaning or positive meaning, depending on the situation you are dealing with. So reconcile is the right word, because here they are giving up some of their capacity to improve its population because of the constraint arising. Okay. Next. So compromise or reconcile, used negatively, you can see. Next, 14 to 16, look at this. It would be expected that a novel by a figure as prominent as Du Bois would attract the attention of literary critics. So expectation is mentioned. Additionally, when the novel subtly engages the issue of race, as Du Bois' The Quest of Silver Fleece does, it would be a surprise not to encounter an abundance of scholarly work about that text. So this kind of topics are very common in GRE. Scholarly work, scholars' interpretations, scholarship, these kinds of words are very common. So the moment you see that, it is about the critics, evaluation of critics. Scholars means evaluation of critics. So why is there no abundance of scholarly work, even though he's dealing with a very engaging issue and he is a very prominent writer? So obviously he is expected to have much scholarly attention, but he did not encounter an abundance of scholarly work about that text. And now look at the point. You will get the reasons for not getting it. But though valuable scholarship has examined Du Bois' political and historical thought, his novels have received scant attention. That means political thought, historical thought is adequately addressed by the scholars, but his novels have received very scant attention. Perhaps he's trying to give a reason. Perhaps Du Bois, the novelist, must wait his turn behind Du Bois, the philosopher, historian, and editor. Okay. But what if the truth lies elsewhere? What if his novels do not speak to current concerns? He is raising a doubt. Is it that he did not mature as a novelist? Or is the truth elsewhere? Is his quality is less? Okay. He did not give anything. He is just skeptical, but he raised a question and left it open for the reader to fill it. Now, question number 14, which of the following can be inferred? Inference is something you draw out from the passage regarding Du Bois, the quest of silver piece. Now, let us look at this one. The lack of attention devoted to this novel can be attributed to the fact that Du Bois' first novel. So, first novel, second novel, we don't know. So, A is not correct. Among Du Bois' novels, The Quest of Silver Fish is unusual in that it is received scant attention from scholars. So that means among his novels, is this one unusual because of not receiving? That means other novels have received his attention. Did other novels receive attention from the critics? That we do not know. Because there is no mention. As a novelist, he has to wait his turn, is said. That means no other novels probably may not be considered by any critic as such. So B is also not correct. C says, The Quest of Silver Fleece has at least one feature that typically would attract the attention of literary scholars. So in the beginning, he mentioned, right, when there are so many things that he is the writer and he subtly engaged the issue of race. So obviously there are some points why it should be considered by the scholars. In the very opening part, he mentioned that the tone itself says that based on the tone, you can answer, this C option looks better. So it has at least one feature that typically should attract the attention of, would attract the attention of literary scholars. But it did not. That's of course a different matter, but it would attract, right? So that would attract is also given in the initial part. Now D says, this novel, given its subtle exploration of race, is probably the best novel. The best is a judgmental word again. Nobody said it is best. Okay. So it only said that subtly engage the issue of race, that's all. Then he says much of the scholarly work that has focused on this quest of silver fleece has been surprisingly critical of it. See, the question is about not having critical attention, scholarly attention. And this answer is saying as if scholars have worked on it. So this is clearly wrong and easily eliminated. Okay. So option C is correct here. You must read the entire answer. Remember, partially reading here and there will be endangering that question. Okay. So never do that. Quickly read the passage, try to get the overall message, try to get the tone, positivity, negativity, and immediately spend more time on the question. Okay. That is the key to success. In the fourth sentence, perhaps Du Bois, the novelist, must wait editor. The author of the passage is most likely suggesting that. As I mentioned already, as a novelist, he has to mature a lot. Okay. So otherwise, he's good as a philosopher, historian, political analyst. He's good. But as a novelist, he has to wait his turn. What does that mean? Let us see. Let us find out the answers which match with this kind of a description. Okay. So see how the answers are given. They are very close. Scholars will find that Du Bois' novels are more relevant to current concerns than is his work as philosopher, historian, and editor. So this kind of description is there, but don't fall for such answers. Read the question carefully. More scholarly attention will be paid to this one than to Du Bois' other novels. That's not the idea conveyed there. Du Bois' novels will come to overshadow his work as philosopher historian. That means are the novels so great? Du Bois' novels may eventually attract greater scholarly interest than they have to date. That means scholarly, he has to wait his turn. Means as a novelist, he is in the queue. So he has to wait his turn for the scholars to pay interest on him. So D option is matching with it. It will be shown that Du Bois' work as philosopher, historian, and editor had an important influence on his work as novelist. See how close the answers are. But finding the right fit, right, correct, exact, without losing the meaning, that's very important. Okay. Never expect the answers to be very direct, easy for you. Okay. So you must always read through the meaning of the passage, meaning of the question, meaning of the sentence that you are referring to. Right. 16. Which of the following best describes the central issue with which the passage is concerned? So it is about not receiving critical attention for the novel he wrote. Okay. So it's not about the nature of engagement with the issue of race, because it's only passingly mentioned there. And then it's not perfunctoriness of critical work devoted. So this is also saying as if critical work is devoted and it is perfunctory. But it is very attractive answer. See how it is given in the A option. The moment you read it, you'll find something. Okay. So because it's the very first answer that you are dealing with, and it's really, trying to trap you. Okay, whether Du Bois' novels are of high quality or relevant to current concerns. Now, second part is okay. Relevant to current concerns or not, he raised a question. But quality part, that's not the issue throughout. The relationship between Du Bois the novelist and Du Bois the philosopher historian. This is also mentioned there. But that is not the concern of the entire passage. So what is the issue the passage is primarily concerned with is E. The degree of consideration. Look at this kind of wording, degree of consideration. That means the level of importance or the level of consideration given by the scholars. Of course, scholars did not pay any attention, but that is also a degree, right? Not paying attention is also one degree of consideration, 0 degree. So the degree of consideration that has been given to Du Bois' novels, including Quest of Silver Fleece. Yes, this is correct. Question number 17. In the midst of so many evasive comments, this forthright statement, whatever its intrinsic merit, plainly stands out as. So in the middle of all black marbles, one white marble will be what? It will be a special case, it will be a different one. Whether it is special, important, because he said whatever its intrinsic merit, it may be good or bad or whatever, but definitely it is different. So I need something which says that it is different without judging it as good or bad. Okay, so that is the kind of balanced answer you have to check for. Okay, so it's an aberration, it's a deviation. So anomaly is the right word. Inaccuracy means that's a negative word. Profundity, that's a positive word. Misnomer is a negative word. Paradigm is a positive word. Anomaly is an error, a deviation from normalcy. Okay, so it stands out as an anomaly is the correct one. The activists' energetic work in the service of both women's suffrage and the temperance movement in the late 19th century dashed the assertion that the two movements were dash. So she did energetic work in both women's suffrage movement and also temperance movement. So what does it tell about those two movements? Tell me. If you are working for two movements very energetically in both of them, so both of them have some kind of commonalities in them, or both of them must be working towards the similar goal, then only you would like to participate in both of them, is it not? So either you have to support the assertion that the two movements were similar, or you have to oppose the assertion that the two movements were opposite. So if you find these things, so select the one, support underscore. These two are positive. Support means strengthen. Underscore also means strengthen. Undermine is weaken. So begin with a different answer here. So you can begin with, that is one way of, identifying the right fit. So you can select this one first because the other two are synonyms. So if I take underscore, then I can take support also. So these two cannot be my answers. So you can begin with undermines. So what does it weaken if you are working for two movements energetically? That it weakens that those two movements were inimical. So they are not opposite, they are similar. Either you should support the assertion that those two movements were similar, or you have to oppose the assertion that the two movements were opposite. Then you will tell the same meaning that both are similar kinds of movements. Okay. Question number 19. There is nothing quite like this movie. That itself tells you the story, right? So that means it is something different. And indeed, I'm not altogether sure there is much more to it than its lovely dash. So lovely what? Which aspect did he mention about the movie? That it is different. So the different word here is peculiar. So exactly you came to the right word here, because no other quality is discussed here. Only that it is different. There is nothing quite like this movie. That means this is totally different. At a moment when so many films strive to be dash as possible, it is gratifying to find one that is so subtle and puzzling. So what is the opposite of subtle? What is the opposite of puzzling? That must come in the second blank. Because when others are trying to do this, this film is trying to be subtle. So subtle means very not being pretty direct, indirect. So the other films are trying for direct. So what is the meaning of direct? Indirect is already the second part is saying subtle. So indirect cannot be my answer. Enigmatic means puzzling. So that is about this particular movie. So what are the others striving for? Not these two again. So assertive is the only one left. So that should be my answer. Okay. I need to find a contrast between other films which are trying to do something and this film which is subtle and puzzling. When this film is subtle and puzzling, I am searching for the opposite of subtle and puzzling for the other ones. But the other ones cannot be subtle and puzzling. So I am leaving out indirect because that is close to the word subtle. Enigmatic is close to the word puzzling, which is why I removed these two. Therefore, what is left is my answer. Then question number 20. Wills argues that certain malarial parasites are especially dash because they have more recently entered humans. So if they are entering more recently, what happens? We don't know until we read the entire sentence. Than other species and therefore have had dash time. They have recently entered. How much time do they have to evolve towards dash? So what are they evolving towards if they have plenty of time? Yet there is no reliable evidence. So even though you are thinking this, yet there is no evidence to say that the most harmful Plasmodium species has been in humans for a shorter time than less harmful species. So what is that? There is no evidence for that. If it stays for shorter time, it is most harmful. If it stays longer time, it is less harmful. So first part also should say the same thing, right? Because there is no evidence for this. So you are saying something, yet you are saying there is no evidence for it. So whatever you said in the beginning is the same thing that there is no evidence for. Okay. So that means if it is staying for less time, then it becomes more harmful. Less time, more harmful. More time, less harmful. So if they have recently entered, do they have more time or less time? They have less time. So that means here, second one, I need to have a word which means less. So which is insufficient. Okay. Then you have the first one. Because they have more recently entered, as per this, they have more recently entered, what happens? Malarial parasites are especially, they are harmful. So most harmful means malignant here. And therefore have had insufficient time to evolve towards what? If they have more time, what happens? They become less harmful. Less harmful means which one out of these three? Virulence is far harmful. Benign means less harmful. Benign, innocuous, those kinds of words. So the explanation given in the last part is this one. So this is the entire crux of the sentence based on which you can answer. So these twists and turns you must understand carefully. I hope you understood. Okay. Now, let's move on to the next one. Yeah, 21. Saturn's giant moon Titan is the only planetary satellite with a significant atmosphere and the only body in the solar system other than Earth that has a thick atmosphere dominated by molecular nitrogen. For a long time, the big question about Titan's atmosphere was how it could be so thick, given that Jupiter's moons, Ganymede and Callisto, which are the same size as Titan, have none. The conditions for acquiring and retaining a thick nitrogen atmosphere are now readily understood. The low temperature of the Proto-Saturnian nebula enabled Titan to acquire the moderately volatile compounds methane and ammonia in addition to water. The higher temperatures of Jupiter's moons, which were closer to the sun, prevented them from acquiring such an atmosphere. Now, don't worry about the technical content. Give one reading. Focus on contrast, cause and effect. Okay. Only these elements you try to focus. Evidence, study, what is the implication of the study, so on and so forth. Okay. Only focus on those things. Technical questions always don't bother too much. Directly after reading quickly, don't try to understand it completely. Go to the question and then read what exactly you have to find out. And then come back to the passage. Then you will start reading. Okay. So here question is, according to the passage, Titan differs atmospherically from Ganymede and Callisto because of a difference in what? So you will find something. Okay. So what is the difference between Ganymede and Callisto and Titan? Atmospherically, what is the difference? Okay. So they are of the same size. That is the similarity. But what is the difference? Why it has an atmosphere and why these have no atmosphere? So you can find in the last part, the reason for not having the atmosphere in these moons is because of the proximity to the sun. Because it is given in the last part, the higher temperatures of Jupiter's moons, which were closer to the sun, prevented them from acquiring such an atmosphere. Such an atmosphere means the atmosphere of Titan. Okay, so why did they not have this kind of an atmosphere? Jupiter's moons is given in the last part. If you understand the question properly, it is because of lying close to the sun. So proximity to the sun is the answer. Question number 22. Okay. Which of the following most logically completes the passage? Read it. Observations on the Arctic reveal that Arctic Ocean is covered by less ice each summer than the previous summer. If this warming trend continues, within 50 years, the Arctic Ocean will be ice-free during the summer months. This occurrence would in itself have little or no effect on global sea levels. If Arctic ice entirely melts, and this argument is saying it will not have any effect on the global sea levels. Normally, it should increase the sea level. He is giving a reason why it will not happen, since the melting of ice floating in water does not affect the water level. This is a simple science. However, serious consequences to sea levels would eventually result, because now you must provide a reason why it would be dangerous to the sea levels increasing, how it can increase at a later point of time. So give one reason, give one reading and tell me how the global sea levels would increase. A is not a sufficient reason. B is not a reason. C can be a reason, melting of land-based glaciers also. So if land-based glaciers also melt, then it will definitely lead to increasing the water levels. Okay. So you will find something when you understand the question, when you understand the context. One reading is enough actually. Okay. Now let's see the last few questions, 21 to 23 to 25. Okay. Again, a passage. In a recent study, David Cressy examines two central questions concerning English immigration to New England in the 1630s. So what are the questions? It is a study. First thing is, you remember, study, results, experiment, literature, literary criticism, critiques, scholars. These are very common words in GRE. So do not forget to read that first sentences very carefully. So in a recent study, means it's a study done by whom? David Cressy. What did he do the study on? On the questions, two important questions related to English immigration to New England in the 1630s. What kinds of people immigrated and why? Those two questions. Using contemporary literary evidence, that means the evidence in the literature, he used that shipping lists and customs records. Cressy finds that most adult immigrants were skilled in farming or crafts. They were literate and were organized in families. Each of these characteristics sharply distinguishes the 21,000 people who left for New England in the 1630s from most of the approximately 377,000 English people who had immigrated to America by 1700. So that means the people who went to England are having these kinds of qualities. The people who went to America did not have. With respect to their reasons for emigrating, Cressy does not deny, that means he accepts, the frequently noted fact that some of the immigrants of the 1630s, most notably the organizers and clergy means religious, advanced religious explanations for departure. So that means a few of them offered explanations related to religion. But he finds that such explanations usually assumed primacy only in retrospect. When he moves beyond the principal actors, so who are the principal actors here? Organizers and clergy. He finds that religious explanations were less frequently offered, and he concludes that most people immigrated because they were recruited by promises of material improvement. So that means they went there for luxurious life, as you are trying to go to US. Okay. So 23, the passage indicates that Cressy would agree with which of the following statements about the organizers. So what did he say about organizers? Let us see ABC. Okay. Some of them offered a religious explanation for their immigration. This is correct. They did not offer any reasons for their immigration until sometime after they had immigrated. So there is a mention of retrospect, but primacy only in retrospect doesn't mean that they did not offer religions as the reasons. But they came to be primary reasons only after going back. Okay, but they definitely offered reasons. Now saying that they did not offer any reasons until they went back is not correct. Just because the word retrospect is used there. Okay. They were more likely than the average immigrant to be motivated by material considerations. So those people are not motivated by material considerations. Actually, it is said that majority of them immigrated after moving beyond the principal actors. What does that mean? That means after considering the principal actors, the people's, main people's reasons, if you consider a majority of them, they went for material improvement. So which means these organizers did not go there for material improvements. So C is also not correct. Only A is correct here. Then select the sentence that provides Cressy's opinion about what motivated English immigrants to go. Opinion means, Cressy's opinion means it is a judgment of, okay. So, and he concludes that, so it is an opinion last in the concludes that most people immigrated because they were recruited. That is the sentence. When he moves beyond the principal actors, so on and okay. That is the last sentence. So there is nothing like half sentence. Okay. So only if you click on that, entire sentence gets selected. So the last sentence is the correct one. 25th. In the passage, the author is primarily concerned with. What is he concerned with? Summarizing the findings of an investigation. Investigation means it's a study. So it is entirely about what he found out in a study, is it not? So A can be correct. Analyzing a method of argument. Method of argument is not discussed anywhere, whether it is interview method or method of argument. Yes, it is mentioned in the middle that he considered shipping lists, customs records, literary evidence, etc. That is the methodology he followed. But that is not the entire passage about. Evaluating a point of view. So in the initial part, it's not a point of view. It is not a hypothesis. Actually, it's not a point of view. It is a study made an objective basis. Okay. Hypothesizing about a set of circumstances. Is it a hypothesis or a study? Hypothesis means without study, you just make a speculation. That is hypothetical. Establishing categories. Categories are there, but this is not about, yeah. Shantanu, 23, it is option A. 24 is last sentence and 25 is option A. We just concluded that. A, because it is a summary of a study. So that's where you get it, is it not? The very first sentence gives it as a study. Very good, wonderful. Keep doing, and remember, the overall concern should be, it's not about your understanding. I know that you are very good. But the major concern on the exam will be time. You must do the questions within time. That is the challenge, which is why I told you 3 blank questions and about the critical reasoning question, etc. Okay. So you must keep that strategy in mind. You have to maximize your performance. Okay. So if you have to maximize your performance, you have to know the obstacles of, also of reaching the maximum, performance. So you have to work around that, and you have to take as many practice tests as possible. Okay, practice sectional tests and practice doing them at least 5 minutes before, 25 minutes, 20 questions, 25 minutes. Okay. Yeah, that's the main challenge. Time is over before you finish. So it should not happen. Keep that in mind. You should know where to bypass, where to, skip a question here and there, how to move on with the easy question. So you can go to any question anytime. So first finish off all the easier questions. Okay. But don't think that easier question means sentence completion. Easier question can be in the reading comprehension also. Okay. So try to do small passages first quickly, and then finish off all the sentence equivalents. They are very easy if you pair them properly quickly. Okay. So build up a strategy for yourself where you manage your time effectively. That's the key to success on this. And do as much practice as you can before you go to the test. Okay. And that's all from my side. If you have any questions, you can ask. And we'll discuss more sections. And I want you to work out section 3 from again the next test, practice test 2. We'll discuss that also in the next class. All right. If we keep questions to review, let me check what this question is. Then how does the difficulty algorithm of the exam work? There is no algorithm, Sardh, here. It's not section. It's not questional, questional adaptive. It is a section adaptive one. So don't worry about it. There is no algorithm. Now, if you keep the questions in review, that doesn't mean that you keep it only in review. You have to answer them. You must answer them. You must answer each and every question, each and every answer. If you don't, you're going to attract penalty. Okay. So don't leave any question unanswered. First thing. And I suggest don't go for review also. Don't keep any question for review also, because you don't find time later. When you are in that questions mood, you have to answer that. Okay. When you are out of the mood of that question and again you come back to it, it is going to waste more time for you. So what I would suggest instead is you take a call then and there itself, whether you have to pick something and move on, or will you spend some more time on that. So that's a choice you have to abruptly make then and there. Yeah. How does the next section adapt to current performance? So first section, it determines on the computer decides that randomly after the first section that you did, it calculates your performance and then gives you the next one. And the next one slightly, more difficult. If you're getting it, obviously it means you are doing well. If you are getting more difficult and if you are solving less number of questions there also, that is fine. You get more, marks. Are you getting my point? So the first section normally would be an average one, and then you will be given more difficult one. So if you are doing very well on the more difficult one, then you get full score, which means above 160. I mean, 163, 164 kind. If not, you will end up with at least 158. If you are doing average performance, 156, 157 is assured. But if you do very badly on the first one, then you are going to get another moderate level of section or an easy one. Even if you did well on that, you still end up with a score of around 150. So it depends on, each question carries 1 point, as you know. Okay. So it's a simple mathematical calculation. So number of questions in number of points. But section adaptive feature definitely is there. There is an incentive for doing well on the second section, because you are actually getting more. If you are getting more difficult, if you did well on the first one, you get a more difficult one, you get a higher score. If you did not do well on the first one, you get less difficult one, get a lesser score. All right. Anything else? Work on the word lists, work on pairing the words, try to understand the things. Yeah. Yes. What is that one more thing? When we pay for the GRE test, do we get power prep as well? Power prep 2 tests, access to power prep 2 tests. Yes, you would be getting access to 2 tests. Yes, free access to 2 tests. And okay, so let's meet again in the next class with a discussion on another section. All right. So this will give you more, idea. So you practice, even if you practice, even if you know the question, you still attend the class, so that, you learn the tricks of, trade. All right. Okay, then see ya, all of you. Bye-bye. Did you mark the attendance? I don't know. I forgot to mention that. Can you share that? Can you share the link, or is it not necessary? Oh, I don't think I can take a pic. But I think there are 6 students. I can read out their names or type it here. Aditya, Shantanu, Sardh. Yeah, of course, they are less. Pradmesh, Ishika, Abhishek, Sardh, Shantanu, and one more guy who left. For me, less is more, because less people who are very much interested. If you can secure 320 plus, I would be very glad if I can contribute to your higher scores. All right. So those are the names: Shantanu, Abhishek, Ishika, Prathmesh, Sardh, and Shantanu. And one more, I will tell you. Aditya. Did you write down? Abhi, Ishi, Prathmesh, Sardh, Saili, Aditya. Yes. And yourself. Bye-bye.